by them. Alright then, we are on. At the very least we are streaming. So then, yes, we got a Connie coming along. Other folks are logging in, spiffing. Well, as a quick change of subject then, has anybody seen the new Star Trek, I'm going to say film, but it's not really a film, it's what they've started calling a long trek, as opposed to a short trek. The Section 31 movie?
No.
Yeah.
I was saying to Connie, honestly, the whole thing about that, maybe I'm wrong, I haven't seen it, but the direction they've taken it, like post DS9 into Discovery, it's pretty like antithetical to Star Trek. The whole like, oh, we need this like necessary evil. No, you don't. So no, I haven't seen it, and I don't really plan to either.
That's fine. Having seen it, I will say they were one of the best channels to watch for Trek-related stuff I've found is Trek Culture, because the guy who hosts it, Sean, he's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
In person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, literally at Destination Star Trek. When Connie and I went a few years ago, I saw he was like, I was gonna like, obviously I'm not gonna be like, just insert myself into a conversation, because he was like talking to other people for like a long time at the sort of like after party. So he was hanging out there in his Enterprise uniform. The only time I saw him where he wasn't talking to someone was in the gents' toilets.
And you really can't accost a man in the gents'
conversation. Exactly. So it was a misconnection. But yeah, I've seen him in person. And yeah, it's a very good channel.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing that he did say in regards to whether or not you like Section 31 as a movie is if too many people rag on it for being a bad movie, then it's entirely possible that Paramount might pull any decision to do any more long treks. And as he quite rightly pointed out, more Trek is good Trek, even if it's not necessarily great Trek. So I will say this much. The Section 31 movie suffers from two things. One, trying to be Suicide Squad. And two, it was obviously a TV series first that they tried adapting into a 1.5 hour film second. So it feels like there's spaces that should have been filled with like character-centric episodes. So, if you don't want to see it, I wouldn't go to great lengths to see it. If you want to check it out, then feel free to check it out. But I had a hard time with it. Maybe I was in the bad mood as well, I don't know. But it really felt too hard, like it was trying to be Suicide Squad. And as Chris quite rightly pointed out, the fact that your main character is a genocidal murderer. Sean What's-His-Face of Trek Culture did point out that one thing that Trek does very good is redemption arcs. They didn't really do a redemption arc in this, but they at least gave us a little bit more backstory for Empress Philippa Georgiou, so... we'll see what they do with it.
I like Yo a lot as well. It's just like, I think it's like, I'll sit through bad Star Trek, like,
yeah.
At least like, Threshold is still Star Trek, but then when you sort of go off the philosophical deep end of like this sort of necessary evil, it kind of defeats the whole point of the Federation in the first place. I think.
Yes, and
Maybe
I
I'm
would hastily agree.
But yeah.
I would agree. Anyways, that looks like I've bought enough time for everybody to sign in. Everybody who wants to listen to Sirenscape is actually hearing something.
I actually have it open and switched on.
Who are you, and what have I... Ladies and gents, we have a changeling in our midst. They've tried to impersonate Mark.
What have you done with Mark, and where is he?
I've now got a shortcut folder that opens all the Trek files for me, so I just one tap that.
So in case per future Mark forgets, past Mark is helping him. I see. Okay, cool. I encourage. Right, just shunt you guys over to the intro video. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back in a moment. Hello folks, and welcome along to the continuing adventures of the USS Combs. I am MJ the GM, and I will be your games master for the next couple of hours, and with me are the entirety of the Combs crew.
Yay!
Before we go on, we're going to do our usual quick plug. Chris, take it away.
Hello. Same as usual for me. Got my retro review series having a mosey. Currently working on the Phoenix Wright video. I've storyboarded it this week now, so I did some work. Bit out of character for myself, but I did actually do some work. So yeah, that's coming in the next couple of weeks, I imagine. Now I know exactly how it's sort of going to play out. Just got to record everything and write it all down. But yeah, that's it for me today. Really, stay tuned.
Nice. Okay then. Everybody good? Everybody in? Everybody hearing if they want to hear something? Excellent.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
You know how we were conversating before about? Oh no, we were talking about YouTubers. I've met at least one YouTuber.
Go on.
You.
You flatter me, boy, but it won't work. It won't work.
No, I've actually met another two YouTubers, both Warhammer related. So.
Well, do I plug that in a Star Trek one? Oh, go on, it's too awesome. One fan-made Warhammer 40,000 video a couple of years ago came across my radar called Astartes.
Oh, that's amazing!
And it was made by one guy. The sequel is on its way. And the trailer makes it look amazing. I don't care if we have to wait till 2026. Give this guy all the money he needs.
Yep.
I thought he got employed by Games Workshop.
Games Workshop. It's possible because they do have their Warhammer Plus channel.
That's where it's going first. So yeah, he's doing it through the Warhammer Plus. So Warhammer TV is how it's getting done.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It happened as well to another. This is totally outside of our franchise, but what the hell? We're promoting other people's works and fan-made stuff, so, you know, let's go for it. There was one also very talented chap. I say chap, I don't know the gender of these people, but before we had Astartes, there was someone who made an animated series of animated shorts which chronicled the battle for Armageddon, seen through the eyes of I think it was the Black Templars. There was a specific novel that it was based on, the fall of something. I want to say Hellsbrecht, but that's the name of the guy who was in charge of the whole thing. Anyway, they'd animated this in some really sort of interesting styles and changed the style from episode to episode. And eventually they didn't do any more because they got hired by Warhammer Studios to do one, and they did. They actually did the series Angels of Death. So yeah, that was pretty cool as well. So yay for fan-made stuff.
I like what was it? Emperor's text to speech.
Oh, that. Yeah, that went on for a bit too long for me, and I eventually lost faith with it. But it started off really funny.
It did, yes.
And that was before taking into account that the last couple of novels of the Siege of Terror have now changed the narrative somewhat. But before I get carried into that long tangent and geek out over something else entirely, let me get back to Trek. Very quickly.
Yay.
Very, very quickly. Okay, right. So, if we cast our minds back to last week, the crew was sent to the Omega Draconis system because there is a science team there who are investigating a satellite in orbit of a black hole, and the black hole is apparently being contained within this strange electromagnetic bubble. But the science team recently gained access to the satellite, and in doing so maybe have triggered something which has resulted in the relativistic jet, which is like a radiation stream that comes out of the singularity. The black hole has started altering its course. The axis of the singularity is being shifted, and the relativistic jet will eventually come across the planetoid, which has life still on it. And so, even though the head of the science team, Dr. Talan, if I remember correct, Dr. Talan, the head of the science team, requested assistance with trying to find where the members of her science expedition went when they went into the satellite and they didn't return. No mention whatsoever of what to do with the inhabitants of the planetoid. So, the Combs crew have decided to split their efforts. One team has gone towards the artificial satellite in order to try and investigate what's going on there, whilst an away team has got themselves set up with prosthetics in order to try and blend in with the local population and find out what they can. Now, when we last left the satellite away team, they had discovered that two more members of the remaining science team had gone into the satellite and had started dropping communication relays as they went, because the moon, or I should say the artificial satellite, is made from neutronium. That was it. Which is one of the most dense, impenetrable materials yet found. And so communications inside are spotty at best, so these communication relays are being dropped to make communication easier. But those two folks who were dropping comm relays have since stopped responding to hails, and so the away team for the artificial satellite have decided to go and have a look. So that's where we're going to start. So before I get into that, does anybody else have anything that they think they need reminding of? Or a question they want to ask before we jump to that? While you think about that, I'm going to quickly grab the tokens necessary. Okay.
So still no anti-grav.
Still no cause for the anti-grav sled? No, it
let's not do
seems
this again,
not.
please.
No, we did waste a good... I say waste. We used a good half an hour or more on that, so I want off the ship. Let me out of here, they're all nuts. Okay.
Okay. Alright, let's do this.
Alrighty. Back on board the artificial satellite, the satellite's away team, composed of Flesk and Gurkow, Ensign Kenson, Nurse Uro, and Commander Tavish, find themselves advancing along corridors occasionally marked by these magnetic poles with little radar dishes set at the top. These are Federation standard communication relays, so that you know you're going in pretty much the direction that these people, these missing two members of the science team, at least went. As you come through another doorway, you come to an intersection, which hopefully you can see. Because I know we had issues with not being able to see the map before. What marks this one different from the ones you've passed previously is that there does appear to be a door open on the other side from where you guys enter, and it appears to lead to a room that, from just looking from where you can see currently, has banks of active computer screens and readouts and the like. So, with no more further ado, what would you like to do?
Move forward.
Alrighty. As is the usual case with supporting characters, we have Ensign Kenson and Nurse Uro here. So for those who don't have their main characters, which would be Liz and Chris, you can take charge of Uro and Kenson respectively. Or whoever you fancy. I mean, Chris, it would make sense if you wanted to go with either your boy Nurse Uro or with somebody different.
I got him.
You got it. Okay. So, Liz, you can take charge of Kenson. So, entering into this room, there are numerous screens and readouts and consoles that you can see, and they're all composed of various different types of data streams. Unfortunately, the language of the screens themselves and the interfaces are not something you've come across before. Your universal translator doesn't currently know what to make of it. Certainly nothing that you've come across before. But considering who we've got in here, let me see. Tavish and Kenson and Flesk can at least recognize one of the consoles, and I'm going to go it's this one down here where Tavish is currently stood next to. Appears to be showing what you would hazard a guess to be power distribution. It shows a power conduit schematic, you think, of the station. Satellite, whatever you want to call it, and appears to show the current flow of power through the satellite. The actual readouts, you still have no real way of identifying what each of them mean, but something does catch your eye. Now, the fact that this door was already open suggests that the previous two crew members that have since gone, not exactly missing, but you've since lost contact with, quite probably came through here, well, with the door being left ajar. But the power distribution diagrams suggest 2 points of definite interest. There is one point that is illuminated quite brightly with high power levels, which suggests that whatever this part of the power network is connected to requires a lot of juice and is currently outputting a fair amount. But there does also appear a secondary system that looks like it's set to receive a lot of power, but is currently not dealing with that power. So what I mean by that is that there's some system on the ship that the readout suggests has been created in such a way that it can take a junk load of power. It's just that that power isn't currently turned on to that system. I hope that makes some sense. I'm going to go with the silence being a yes, man. That makes sense.
Yeah. It can do something, but it's not.
Yes. It's currently not being fed the power it needs to do its thing. And whatever that thing is, that thing apparently requires a lot of juice.
I mean,
let's not
might be
touch-
worth... Yeah. Sorry.
Let's not touch that button.
Yeah, let's work out what it does first before we go and find out what it does before we power it up.
Yeah.
And the only other one worth mentioning is there is another system that is currently active and taking a lot of power from whatever the central power system of this is. So yes, Dave.
Can I basically skim through all these letters and stuff which we don't recognise, and let Nihil do some.
Ah, yes.
What was it? What's the word? It's not decryption, but
or data analysis at the very least.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to plug her in.
You don't want to plug her in. You just want to let her look.
Yes. I mean, I really want to plug her in, but I'm not too sure I would be allowed to. And plus, we didn't find a plug socket last time, so I doubt we're going to find one now.
Quite. Yes. In a very similar fashion to everything you've found, the design of this place seems not exactly advanced, but whatever method they're using to attach consoles to walls and floors and stuff is pretty seamless. Which, considering that for the majority of the materials you're dealing with here are neutronium, that's, again, very, very intriguing, or should be.
Iconography not identified. However, storing for historical purposes.
Thank you, Nala.
Now, meanwhile, whilst folks are looking at this power distribution schematic, I suppose, Gurkow is close enough to this console to note that it appears to be some kind of security monitoring station. There are numerous mini-screens attached to this one display that suggest different parts of the satellite being monitored at this current point in time. As Gurkow looks, she can see what looks like somebody running down a corridor.
Are they identifiable?
Not easily, but since the camera position, as it were, appears to be from the back, it shows definitely a humanoid running, and they are wearing the blue uniform of Starfleet Science. There is one figure running, and they look like they are running from something behind them, which is currently out of shot. Trying to get any other angle is difficult because, again, you don't know how to work the console to try and switch views, camera views and whatnot. So with only this one shot in mind on this one mini screen in the monitoring station that you're currently looking at, all you can see is this one individual in a Starfleet Science uniform running from something coming up behind them, and then they get knocked down by something. That something was... Let me see if I can describe it. Somewhat ovoid in shape. Looked like it was coloured a strange kind of... not exactly gold, a pale kind of gold colour. Definitely metallic. With long... almost boneless arms. And it catches up to this fleeing science officer and knocks them down with a extendable arm. At which point the science member turns and starts scooting backwards on their hands and feet, whilst still be very much on the floor, trying to get away from this whatever it is. This machine is hovering above the floor, making no contact with it, and then just backhands the science officer so hard they careen through the air and land limply on the floor. There's... Thank you, Mark. One of the most terrifying creatures I ever saw on TV, actually, was Rover from The Prisoner, but that's another story for another time. In any case, this machine has hit the science officer so hard they've just gone limp. The machine hovers close to them and emits this long green beam which appears to scan the downed science officer up and down. It does a couple of passes of this scan before then blasting the science officer with this focused beam that just vaporizes the science officer. And as you are still watching the screen, the image of the weird ovoid floating machine shifts and changes until it now is the same Starfleet science officer that it just shot. That officer turns around and starts walking back the way it came.
Does the camera or the camera name have the location?
Well, this is the
Before it
thing. Like I
happened?
said, the language is a bit strange, but based on what you can see, you reckon that tunnel, that corridor that encounter just happened in, isn't that far away from your current location. You would have to probably track north of your current position, you think?
Then I would like to tell the other officers we're going on an egg hunt.
Okay.
Before we do
Or at
that,
least, you know.
Cal, can we work out what the power being used is for? Because we've got two things. One's being powered, one isn't. What do they do? I'm more concerned about what's currently powered and if we can switch it off.
Well, the bad news, of course, is that, like I stated, you can't actually read any of the text if it is indeed text on these readouts. But at the very least, there's enough officers here of the engineering stripe with power systems of as a specialty that, given what Gurkow, I hope, has elaborated on, not just we're going on an egg hunt, but this is why we're going on an egg hunt, and this is where we're going on an egg hunt. Best guess would be that, based on the schematics, the layout, because the room you're in obviously takes a degree of power as well to power all these monitoring systems. So you can hazard a guess based on how far you've come from the exterior hatch that you used to get in here. You can get a reasonably good idea just using the power conduits as to where you are. And the corridor that Gurkow suggests you go down, when you liken it up to the power schematic as best you can, this corridor is actually on the way to the room that has the capacity for great power but isn't currently powered up. And there are other rooms on the same path that can then lead you to the room that is exhibiting a lot of power output at the moment.
Looks like we're going on an egg hunt.
So, the team is getting ready to go out and have a look for, well, whatever's going on. Anything in mind for dealing with this, or are you just going to go there and just see what happens?
Well, we might need the anti-grav sled to help carry the injured Starfleet member.
Nice, trying to justify the use of the anti-grav sled once again.
Yeah.
Alright then. If that's all the preparations you're making, then the team can pretty much gather itself and get ready to proceed north of your current position to see if you can intercept whatever was going on. Fleska's like, nope, I'm going alone. No need for you to risk yourselves. Let's face this alone, one at a time. Like all
Let's
good
not raise
horror
any
movie tropes.
suspicions.
Let's split up, gang.
Uro's like, I'm a doctor, I'm staying here. I'll give you moral support from the comms via the comm system. I'll watch on the the cameras. Okay, so yes, this corridor will lead you to where you need to go, and you're just filing out there. So we'll pause you there as we move back down to the planetoid surface. If I can find it. Meanwhile, back on the planetoid, the away team who had who are enduring Dr. Sott's prosthetics have managed to successfully make contact with the Ithic people down on the planet. And so, after managing to identify the probable leader of this little settlement, was there anything specific that you wanted to do now that you are here?
Let's hit the bar for drinks and information.
Drinks and information. That's a good point. You did say something similar to that regard. Okie dokie. You find the Ithic people very accommodating. Apparently they only get so many visits from folks from other villages and outposts every so often. So they're only aware of other outposts as far as maybe 2 outposts worth of distance to the southeast and the south. So as far as your cover story goes, you can just as easily pretend to be someone from further out, and it so far hasn't raised any suspicions. Culturally, they have similarities to what you would guess to be a merit-based system, but there's no evidence of any kind of social advancement via merit. It's more like a case of everybody has a job to do, and they know that they need to do it to the best of their ability, to the most efficient means of their ability, in order to make sure that the survival of the entire settlement continues on. So everyone's very pragmatic, but also very reasonable about how they get on with their lives every day. So folks realize they need downtime, so there is definitely an inn of sorts, a pub, whatever you want to call it, a place for folks to just settle down, relax, and have a good bit of communal kinship. But otherwise, folks, the Ithic don't linger long in such a social environment, knowing that there's still work that needs to be done. What kind of info were you guys looking for to get from the local tavern speak? If any. As in, did you have any clear idea of what kind of thing you wanted to hear, or you just looking for anything? Okay.
If anyone's got specifics, I'm all ears.
Does my neck look big in this?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Yes. So who have we got? We've brought the counsellor with us. We've got the EMD, who is loving this, by the way. He is very much enjoying his outing. Ensign Akos, however, not so much. He's a bit cramped.
Yes, poor guy. But glad we could accommodate you, Mr. Holographic Medical Examiner. Bonnie's just using her cultural studies to study.
Okay. What you find very interesting, those of you who have got cultural studies, is that the Ithic seem to have lists. Everywhere there's lists. Every piece of written information they have seem to be laid out in almost bullet points and such. Every written piece they've got is formulated almost exactly the same. As such, it appears to have affected their language in a similar fashion, in that they don't say more than they apparently need to. So whenever you ask folks for general information, you get it almost in list format when they talk. But most folks seem to agree that even though the visit is nice, at some point, if you want to end up bartering or dealing with whatever you want to trade, you are going to need to go through the mayor. Other than that,
Can we arrange an audience?
yeah, that's no problem. So if you ask, you are introduced to the mayor, who is this fella. So, like I noted, most folks here wear very little, but the garments they do wear is usually vegetable fibre, spun stuff, and thus has earthy browns and greens in colour. Whereas the mayor has got significantly more dress on them, I suppose you could say, and is coloured in what you would surmise are more than likely dyes, natural dyes that you find in plants like berries and such, in order to make them stand out. When the mayor is approached by the Ithic citizen that you asked to introduce you to him, the citizen does not exactly curtsy, but it's the closest thing, and the mayor doesn't appear to what's the best way I can describe this? You get his full attention when you prostrate yourself before him, almost. And he, even though these guys are all very tall anyway, you definitely get the general impression that he has an air of superiority about himself. And so, yes, how may I help you? Visitors from one of the other settlements. Excellent. And he brings out, to the surprise of no one, a wooden board with what looks like papers and lists on them. Well then, coming from so far away, I imagine that you're here to audit our stores so that you can see what it is you can trade.
Ooh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Let's see what they've got.
Excellent. Well, I think you'll find we are an extremely prosperous village here, so that, well, no doubt we might be getting a few more visits from yourselves, because we have had quite the bumper crop this year round, so our stores are brimming with such that we can trade. Was there anything particular you were after?
What do we think?
Anything and everything.
Excellent. Well, if you want a full accounting of what it is we have to offer, you will find our records are kept up to top scratch. So, if you want a full accounting of what it is we have available, then I would encourage you to visit our main chamber of stores. If you have any particulars that you would like to address, then feel free to contact me in the meantime. Otherwise, feel free to peruse our lists, and we will endeavour to supply with whatever it is we feel we can spare. And he doesn't even wait for a thank you very much or a goodbye, he just carries on about his business. But he did direct you to a nearby structure. Slightly taller than the rest, only by a small amount. But, yes. Does appear, on first glance at when you go up to the door, to be a storehouse full of paper.
They do like their lists.
They do indeed like their lists. What you find when you go in there is actually quite fascinating. A lot of the more recent lists appear to be very detailed accountings of how much of each type of crop they have, and how much spoiled, how much got traded off, how much got consumed by the populace in general, and how much therefore was available to be kept behind for storage or for emergency use. So these folks are nothing if not organized. But the one thing that really does catch your eyes collectively is the way that the papers that it's all kept on transitions almost backwards the further back in time you go. So it starts off as being pretty crude, like wood pulp paper. But as you start shifting through records, you start finding more and more evidence of synthetically made paper, processed paper, even paper with printed lines on them, going back further and further and further. And the further back you go, you start to come across evidence of, rather than handwritten, printed text.
Huh. So they've almost regressed.
Is there anyone around us right now?
At the
Or are
moment,
we-
no. There's mostly folks milling around outside, but as I noted, they're all very busy folks who appear to be very focused on what they do. So occasionally, the mayor might peek a look around just to see that you're still in there having a look. But they've all got jobs to do, and they're going about doing them.
Is there anything new we can learn if we scan everything?
Scan everything. Well then, let's have a look.
Bonnie's seeing if there's no one around. He is typing on the data pad to collect all this information.
Okay, scanning all this information. Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to ask those with cultural studies or other such related foci to give me a reason and science check. You can choose who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the help.
Reason and science. Mine is 11.
You're better. Go.
Fine.
Wow, okay then. So,
I have a
sounds like
4 in science and 9 in reason, okay?
Okay.
and yet, Sot gets a 1. And Bonnet gets a none. Okie dokie. Alright. A lot of the stuff that comes to the printed era is appears to be more a take on, inventories. But the really fascinating thing appears to be that as time has gone on, these printed lists of inventories, which when you start going from the past into the future, you find that they're manually scratching parts out of these lists, which means at that particular point maybe they started graduating from computer printed lists to manually editing and altering these lists. Whatever happened to them in the past resulted in them taking stock potentially of what they had left and trying to manage, if not ration, their supplies. But what's really interesting is that this seems to be the only written form that survived whatever happened to them, and therefore has become now the basis for their written language. As such, their written language has become very compact and contains a lot of what we would all consider to be like short form notation. But since that short form notation has graduated from being just a way of compacting lists to being their full written alphabet, it has obviously influenced not just their method of speech but also their culture as well. So everything is is clipped, compact, and ordered. Which is why, when you find some drawings, it stands out particularly. You find a crudely painted image on what appears to be a flattened piece of wood. It looks like someone has used a very primitive method of trying to duplicate something, but due to the crudeness of their tools, have only been able to replicate this image to a limited degree. But it's still striking enough that it leaves a very big impression. The depiction definitely shows Ithic. You can tell them very easily, even though the drawing is very simplistic. You can still tell the Ithic apart because they are long-limbed, long-necked. But of particular note is this drawing contains not only Ithic, but other beings who are drawn humanoid, do not have as long limbs as the Ithic, have slightly larger craniums, but are drawn as if they were giants compared to the Ithic. These giant humanoids, whoever they were, are depicted with flowing robes, it seems. There's a black sun in the sky, which could suggest the black hole. But most importantly, these tall beings appear to be coming out of what looks like an archway. And with that, I'm going to move us on again. Where are we? I'm going to move us to a corridor. Now, I just need to get my hands on all your characters again so I can bring them together, bring them into this map. Is that enough? Nope, slightly too much. Okay. So, back on the artificial satellite once again. The away team have come down another corridor. And Gurkow believes you're closing in on the location where you last saw that science officer get, well, punched to the floor, and then either beamed away or disintegrated, and then the ovoid robot, whatever it was, adopted the appearance of the science officer. So, how would you like to approach this? Flask is just going to stand out in the middle of the junction. Okay.
Just checking all the doors. Anything in here?
Scan for beings, if we can.
Scan for beings. Okay. I like the non-specific nature of that scanning thing. Okay. So as folks are all crowding up, Tavish is having a look around inside of a different space entirely. When most of the folks get to about there, that nice little junction where you can see two ways, that's when this center group here sees, from the light reflections, there is a figure coming around the corner. And even though this token does make it look like Ensign Powell from the Ensign Powell? Did I get his name right? Pardon me, Ensign Eddie. Even though it's the same token as Ensign Edison, it's not Ensign Edison, it is one of the other science team. As they come around the corner, they look at the trio in the middle of the corridor there, I go, oh, thank goodness! Help! I need help! What are you going to do?
Quick, get your anti-grav sled ready. And start going towards him.
Okay, so we've got Tavish all the way over here in a different room currently, and we've got Gurkau all the way down here, checking that back door, but then otherwise we've got these three folks, Flesk, Kenson, and Uro. Can do whatever.
Yep, Flesk is going to start going towards him and say, what's happening? What's going on?
Something attacked me? I think I may have lost it, but it's back there. And he points back down the way he came, apparently.
Where's the rest of your team?
I don't know. I lost them. Something attacked us. It's back there, I think. Can you help me?
Yeah, what can you tell us about what attacked you?
I didn't see all of it. It happened so quick. But there's definitely something back there. You should probably check it out. I'm not sure I'm brave enough to go see it again.
This seems suspicious.
I'm gonna peek around the corner. Can I confirm visually that it's the same person I saw on the camera?
Ooh, now, Gurkau's recollection is usually pretty good, I would say, so...
Flesk is going to peek around the corner and see if he can see anything here.
Okay. The corridor is pretty much as you see it there, and as far as Gurkau's question goes, yeah, this guy does look very familiar. At which point, yeah, the ensign comes up behind Flask to point definitely through that door. But then Gurkau yells, "Pull back, Flask!" At which point...
That's something.
At which point, realizing it's been made, the hologram drops, and you are met with a robot. As I said, the shape of this thing is mostly ovoid, but it's got these long, almost like shoulder pads, from which its long, dangly, floppy, boneless arms emerge. But each of these arms has a metallic gripper at the bottom. But the most striking... the most striking part of this robotic creature's appearance is the fact that rather than a face, it has this luminous vortex going on in the middle of it. So, yes, right. So, Blesk, you trusting fool.
Too eager to help.
So, what I am going to say is that Gurkau did warn Flask. Somebody did say this seems an awful bit sus to me, but Flask still took the bait and went that way, so... What shall I do? I will... What would be the best way to adjudicate this? Because we don't really have XP.
Roll.
Yeah, let's see what we get. Oh, well, okay then. So it looks like Gurkau and the robot got the same amount. Alright, well, in that case then, Gurkau gets to go first. Followed by the robot.
Okay. Are we jumping straight into combat? I mean, considering he was hostile to the other thing, I suppose shoot first, ask questions later.
Entirely up to you. If that's the way you want to handle this, then
Oh,
go for it. Or don't.
okay. Gurkau is going to try and physically subdue the egg.
Okie dokie. That sounds like you need to get close enough to try some... Whoa.
Is Gurkau making breakfast?
Mama's hungry.
Can't make an omelette, etc.
Yeah.
Alright, I will consider this daring and security versus the robot daring and security. So let me roll for the robot. Okay, 1 success. That's what you got to get on or over to be able to hit it.
Would my hand-to-hand combat apply here?
Yes, indeed, definitely.
Oh, okay.
2. There you go.
Boom.
You got 1 over and above what you needed, so you can either bank that momentum, or... Actually, it's just 1, so that won't be enough to up. That on its own, that won't be enough to up damage, but if you wanted to put a momentum point behind it, you could use the one you just earned and a point of momentum from the pool to up your damage by 1.
That. We've
Yeah,
got
if
most
it happens.
momentum. Might as well make use of it.
Yeah. I'll take
Okay.
a point of momentum. Do that.
Okie dokie doops. And this is gonna be an armed strike. Okay. So if we're good with taking a point of momentum, which I shall do now, then that means you manage to inflict 3 damage. So, this is... Now, this changes now that we have gone to 2nd edition, because creatures don't really get a stress track, as it were. So, let me just quickly check something. Aha! Interesting. What I shall do then is I shall spend 3 threat.
Ooh.
To essentially represent it trading blows with Gurkow, to the point where Gurkow didn't quite manage to damage it, but did manage to, well, get into enough of a fisticuffs that you've got its attention. It's the robot's go now, and so, ooh, what do we do? Now you've kind of, I say kind of, you've absolutely destroyed the illusion it was hiding under. So it's not going to make any point for it to do that. You are quite close, it is quite close to Gurkow, so it is going to attempt... It's going to attempt another daring and security, so this time it's for Gurkow to roll daring and security to see what difficulty the robot has at striking Gurkow back. 2. Right, so that's how much the creature needs to hit. Let's see what I get. 2, so, yeah, there we go. So that was an equal level brawl on both sides, but it means I got wanted, and so some bludgeoning tendrils. So, Gurkow can spend 3 from her stress track to avoid injury, or can just plain old take the injury.
Okay. I have a silver bandage shield for wounds suffered in combat.
Okie dokie.
I can avoid injury for 1 less than usual.
Cool.
So I'll
that's
take
3,
2
2.
stress off.
Alright then. That works very nicely.
Lovely.
Lovely, indeed. Okay, cool. So they're exchanging blows at the moment. Boom, bam, biff. Who of the rest wants to go? We've got everybody. So we got Uro, we got Kenson, we got Tavish, we got Flesk. Who wants to go next?
Kenson and Uro got higher rolls, so I don't mind them going first.
Cool. You can even have them acting in concert at the same time if you want, so that one can aid another.
Uro's not got the best security stat by the looks of things, so maybe I should just assist.
Yeah, that's partially why I suggested it, so one can assist another.
Yeah, Kenson has about the same security.
So, they got better chance of success if they collaborate.
Just if they had a hyperspanner, that would be great.
Unfortunately. This also
user
brings to
engineering.
mind. This also brings to mind the fact that you're going to need your minor action to pull out your phaser and the major action to fire it. So, if you're both the same, then I suggest, as Chris volunteered Uro to be helping, then a control and security check from Uro with 1 dice, with 2 dice from Kenson. Not bad. Let's see how Kenson does. Could have been worse. 6. There we go. So we got 1. Now this thing is not behind cover, so as it turns out... It's going to be a miss, I am afraid. The difficulty was 2, and you only scored 1 success. But the good news is you didn't hit Gurkow, so that's always good, which means we have Tavish and Flesk remaining. What would you like to do?
I suppose Flask is going to try the same. Pull out the phaser and then try and shoot it
Okay.
from not too far away.
Right. Again, your difficulty is 2 because it's got no cover to hide behind, so...
So I need to succeed with 2. I am not going to do all of this.
So you could, if you wanted to, go with Tavish, so either Tavish could assist or you could assist Tavish, whatever you want to go at it with.
Actually, yeah, Tavish, how's your security? Because you've got better control of security. Yeah, I'll assist Tavish.
Alright, so 1 shooting from the cover of a door, 1 shooting from behind, so between the 2 of them. So there you go. So Flesk is going to roll 1 dice control and security. Tavish, you can roll 2 dice control and security. Any foci that allow you to, gain your focus with ranged weaponry. That'd be great. Nope. Okay, so it's just all on talent. And we get a 2 from Flesk, so that's not bad. That's very good, in fact. And we get a 13 and an 8, which means we got 3 successes, 1 over and above what we needed. Cool in the gang. Alright, so what happens now then? So we're going to go with Tavish's type 2, which is a 4 damage. You got 1 over and above what was necessary, so that goes back into the pool. 4 damage. 4 damage, which means that I spend 1, 2, 3, 4 threat to have it avoid injury.
Okay.
So a glancing shot was made. The creature is at the moment staving you off, but for how much longer, since you are all ganging up on it, which brings us to a brand new round. So the numbers rolled for initiative don't necessarily mean anything now. It's entirely up to you. Who of you wants to go first?
Go on, Gurkow, finish it off.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm gonna stick my fist in what it calls a face.
Aha. So, yes, it's going to be trying to stop you from doing that, so that's going to be its daring and security. So what you are up against is 1, again, okay. It's obviously not used to taking on somebody in hand-to-hand combat.
Come on, righty and lefty.
Yes, indeed. Double 9s. So 2 successes, 1 over and above what you needed. So your unarmed combat damage is usually 2. You adding any momentum to add more damage to it?
We've
I
got a
think
full
so.
pool. Yeah.
I think so.
So that'll take 2 momentum to add a point of damage. If you want that, then I will do that now. Ba-bom, ba-bom. That means it's actually 3, so the creature now exhausts my threat pool and its own stress track as a result to avoid damage. Alright, so that was Gurkow. Does Gurkow want to stay there? Or is Gurkow moving?
No, keep it pinned.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's gonna explode, then I'll
Okay.
stay here.
It's alright, we got the nurse with us.
Right, so the robot backs up a bit, and then the vortex where its face should be starts to glow, and you can hear this very, very loud whirring sound which goes higher and higher in frequency, suggesting something big is powering up. We are going to, in that case, unleash a shot against the Gurkow with no successes. So what happens there is the whirring is so loud, so obvious, the brightening of the vortex in its face telegraphs what it's going to do, giving Gurkow and Kenson time to effectively dive out the way as this massive particle stream just zooms in a straight line right out from its face and carries on going. So Gurkow and Kenson essentially jump out the way as this long blue stream of particles, of energized particles, goes blasting down the corridor. Doesn't even leave a scratch on the corridor, of course, because neutronium. But there you go. Who wants to go next?
I kind of want to go next.
Tavish, you're up.
Go for it.
You might need to get a little bit closer because the doorway you're in at the moment means you can't quite see it. But you could still use the doorway as cover if you wanted to.
No, I want to go right up to it.
Hyperspanner time. I gotcha.
I've got two of me at the moment.
Oh, it's doing that again. This problem was encountered in a separate... pardon me, umming and ahhing here. This problem was encountered, I think, last night or the night before. That suggests a bit of lag on the server's part, which means that it thinks you have tried to move you and somebody else has tried to move you as well.
Yes. I was trying to move me and then somebody moved me.
So, I don't think anybody did move you. So it's possible that you tried to move and it didn't move, and so you tried to move it again.
Oh, don't worry.
It'll eventually catch up with itself, is what I'm saying.
It has done.
And will allow you to access it. So, yeah. This happened on Friday, so it's possible that the Forge guys have still got lag problems with their servers, so I beg folks' indulgence if that happens to them as well. Nevertheless...
Good luck, Tavish, good luck.
Yes, you need to get 2 or more successes on this, so if you need help from somebody, now would be the time to ask.
I'm happy to help. I feel like I'm not going to get much done myself in combat.
So if you want Uro to come up and try and help by restraining it somehow or whatever, so you can start laying in with the spanner.
Yep.
Okay. Uro can get there in one move with just a minor action, that's no problem, and Uro can give you daring and security 1 dice. But unlike Dr. Mbenga, I don't think that Nurse Uro has got any Spec Ops combat specialists. No? Okay.
Pack that green broccoli juice.
Give it a protein shake. Alright, no successes, so it's all on Tavish.
You know what? You know what? I'm gonna do this.
Gonna go all in?
I'd actually sort of forgotten about that stupid, like, miracle juice, and I'm salty about it all over again.
What episode is this?
This would be...
There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Strange New World. It's only in season 2. Like,
yeah.
in the first episode of season 2, suddenly He's like a MMA fighter with this like steroid juice out of nowhere, as is in his chapel, and then like in episode 8 or whatever, 7 or 8, there's actually some backstory to it, which sort of redeems it a bit, but it's still like stupid.
Yeah.
Again,
I personally
episode?
got the I personally got the impression. Sorry, Dave. I'll get back to you in a sec. Hold on to that. Don't lose it. But isn't I forget the actor's name.
The actual actor is like an accomplished like black
Yeah.
belt in something or other.
Yeah,
which is
he's
very
like
cool.
either
think he's
Aikido or
an actor.
Jiu-Jitsu. I think he's a proper grappler. He does actually have the skills, but maybe he wanted a bit of action, and they wanted to justify how good he looks.
Just so out of nowhere because there was no mention of it in season 1. at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. All of a sudden,
Like,
he's
it's
got this
just
roid
like,
juice.
Oh, I've got a daughter, and now the daughter's gone. So it's like, okay, now I'm just a really good fighter.
So all of a sudden, he's got this super roid juice that he can give to he can give to people to make them essentially get an adrenal boost, so they can ignore pain and become really good fighters. But hey,
Take on like 10 Klingons.
it's what we call a plot device, folks. Look out for them. Anyway, Dave, you were saying.
what episode is it?
It's definitely the first episode of season 2 where that appears.
No,
Yeah, and there's that super heavy episode then between Lower Decks and the musical, I think.
Yeah.
no. I'm asking what episode this is.
Oh, what episode this is? Because you're using a value. Yeah. What number are we on again? This should be actually I would say 20 something, but I can't remember, so I'm going to check my list of videos. We are on Abyss Station. This is episode 24.
Okay.
You are using a value to use determination.
What's it called? A Abyss Station.
Abyss Station, as in, yes, there's an abyss. Here's the station. Abyss Station.
Okay. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
That's fine. So, noting down which value you're using as a result, as an excuse to use, I say excuse, as a means of using a point of determination, and the episode you're using it in. Good. Well, it's definitely not going to be cool in a crisis, because this is you wailing on a robot with a spanner.
I feel like Mad Engineer.
Yeah, I think that's the only one, really. As in, she's mad. She's hopping mad.
No, just trying to. I don't know. Break it.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. So just wail on it. So give me daring and security, please. And remember, if you're using determination, then roll 1 less dice, because the determination dice will be its own dice.
I've put breaking the robot. Hold on, let me save it, so I don't forget.
Cool. Good.
Okay.
Using your personal logs, that's how we do it.
Okay, daring and security.
Yes, please.
We're using a determination. No, 2 dice.
Mm-hmm. Well, 1 dice, and check that you're using determination. Put a check in the box that says you're using determination. There, let me get my actual words right. Okay,
Oh.
so thankfully, because you used determination, you got the 2 successes you need to succeed, and because I'm out of threat... Dear God, Mark. I'm not going to repeat that. I am not giving that one any airtime. Alright then. So,
I've just
Yes,
seen
indeed. So, folks have tried hitting it with phasers. Gurkow has been laying in with fists, occasionally denting the thing. You scuff it with just barely missing it with phaser streams, and eventually Tavish has enough. And with Nurse Uro helping her by trying to restrain the creature, they jump on it, and Tavish just wails on this thing and just starts denting. And the dents become fissures, and the fissures crack open to allow you to get at the inner workings, and you just keep on wailing on the thing until there's nothing but sparks and lubricants jetting out all over the place. And eventually the thing stops twitching.
that. I got that out of my system.
Yeah.
It scanned it as it scanned its victim.
So Tavish is now liberally coated in various different machine ejector.
Okay, alright. You carry on. I'm not going to do anything to this machine at all.
Excuse me? Flesk is curious, not is what Tavish is going to do, but wants to eye it up for parts for his droid work.
Okay.
And sort of gives a knowing glance to Tavish. See what we can make of this.
I will try and get you what you need, Commander.
As you are both looking down into this cracked open chassis with all of the very interesting looking inner workings, as you're getting a handle on, that's the power core, so this must be the main processor. Looks like these bits are some kind of hollow projectors on the outer skin. Very interesting. And that's when you hear a crink as one of the dents that were put in it starts to pop back into shape. And as you watch, the fissures begin slowly knitting themselves closed, and bits of cog work and lattice work within the inner instrumentation begin to realign themselves, and you see the power core start slowly sparking back into life.
Matt, can I do something very, very quickly?
Sure.
Is there anywhere for me to plug in Nihil into this thing?
Not really.
Okay.
This looks like it's some kind of, not exactly self-guided automata, but it looks like this thing has enough... What's the word I'm looking for? It's been built to be to operate independently, but you can see enough of the inner workings to realize that it also has a receiver in there, so it can obviously receive information from somewhere, but it's knitting back together too quickly.
Is there anything... How can we contain it?
There are rooms you could potentially throw it into and jam the door.
Could we rip out what we think is the receiver or a power source?
No, don't rip out the receiver. If we can find something which can control these things, then...
Can we reprogram it, to be friendly?
Yeah, that was my idea of shoving Nihil into there, is actually trying to reprogram it.
Now, as you're debating all of this and these thoughts are going through your heads, this thing is starting to put itself back into its original shape. You don't have much time.
Alright, hyper spanner again.
Bam, 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 bam. Redent the thing as fast as you can, which you do, but you've now gone to effort. The thing is broken open, but even with you physically putting your hand inside the thing, trying to rip out the core, it does not budge. And as you're there with your hand in it, you can then feel the inner workings starting to close around your arm.
Oh god.
So you have to rip that thing out of there, which takes some of your uniform, well, as your EV suit rather, with it. Which means you now have a tear in your EV suit, so let's hope you don't need to go into vacuum anytime soon.
Oh. Oh no.
as this thing is slowly putting itself back together.
All right, Tavish, you just go. Everybody, grab a leg.
Now, there are no legs. This thing just seems to hover, so it's got an anti-grav impeller at the bottom, but it does have those long, stringy arms.
Can we have Savage remodulate a phaser so it'll explode and pop it in there?
Ooh, interesting. Liz, what were you going to suggest?
I was going to suggest if Kenson could try to do the same thing with her phaser with Tavish.
Okay.
Explode it!
The two engineers, if you explode it, then yes. If you might scatter its bits all over the place, you can either destroy it or at least buy yourselves time.
Yeah, so Kenson's going to be like, hey, another grenade? As she holds her Type 1 phaser?
Yep, sacrifice the teeny Type 1 phaser so that you keep the Type 2.
Okay. All right.
I like that you made it sound as if Tavish was umming and ahhing rather than just going, yep, totally.
No,
Yeah, well,
it was whether she wanted to use the Type 1 or the Type 2. It wasn't a matter of
right, the size of the kaboom. I get you.
Yeah.
So you weren't agonizing over whether or not to do it. It was to how big to go. I got you. Right. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, alright.
So then, daring and engineering from both of you to see if you can manage to whip something up really, really quickly to scatter this thing's pieces across as wide an area as possible. Which means you are going to have to book it out of here when the timer starts counting down, because that's going to go bang. In a big way.
Would this count as a rerouting of power?
For the sake of using what I will say, we definitely use Kenson's maintenance. Because you...
Oh, I was thinking about more power.
More power... When you reroute power, no, that's to do with the ship action. So that's an entirely different thing. You're not on the ship, and you can't use the ship to reroute power to a system, so, yeah, sorry. But you can definitely use maintenance because you know how to maintain a phaser and therefore what bits to not reconnect in such a way that it goes into an overload and goes bang. And you got a... This is going to be a big explosion. All right then, Tavish, you're up.
Is this power then?
I mean, it makes sense.
Is this power?
It does to a certain degree, yes, because you're essentially overloading the power system to make it go boom.
No.
It's experimental as well.
It's experimental. Yeah, I'm going to use my god.
Your god focus.
My god.
You are essentially using engineering to make it do something it wasn't originally designed to do. Yes. So.
Even though I've done this on multiple occasions now.
Yeah. So it's less experimental, more definitive.
Actually, all right. I'm gonna ask this question.
Okay.
You can say yes or no to this. Yeah. Can I use? I'm going to make this more difficult for the.
You want to get determination back? Okay, interesting.
I'm going to use obsessive tendencies.
Go on.
This boom has to be perfect.
It has to be perfect.
Which means that you overcompensate in some fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it. In that case, I'll keep the difficulty to myself. Knowing full well that if you want to make things more difficult for yourself, then you've probably increased either the difficulty or the complication range, or both.
Okay. Alright. So
now, the advantage you have here... Yes, the advantage you have here is that, thanks to Liz, Kenson has scored 2 successes already, so... You're already looking good, but this depends entirely on what you roll next.
Right, 3, 2, 1...
Oh, you jammy sod!
Wow.
Yes!
You absolute How lucky was that?
I rolled a double 20
Double
in this game now.
ones! Well,
Oh
can't
God,
argue
this has
with
made
that.
my day. This has made my week.
Cannot argue with the results there. Snake eyes. In fact, looking at those 2 ones and the word successes underneath almost looks like a pair of eyes and smiling teeth. Malformed mouth, I grant you, but...
I need to put the thingy in my logs, don't I? Obsessive tendencies.
Yes, please. Because later on, your obsessive tendencies may make you work in a similar fashion next time. So, Tavish, not content with just playing the same old hits, takes Ensign Kenson's Type 1 phaser, and just as she's about to modify the power core to go into overload as she has done before, Tavish has a sinister brainwave. To which point Tavish starts to giggle knowingly to herself, which unnerves everybody else, to say the least. At which point she then rewires the Type 1 phaser, dunks it inside of one of the still closing breaches in the chassis of the robot, stands up, dusts herself off and says, "Right folks, run!" As there is this increasing sound of the power core of the phaser, even from inside the robot, going... So, yeah, distance.
Go.
Distance and speed is what's needed. Kenson goes the other way and ducks behind a door while everyone else goes in that direction.
Does this door open?
Uro gets yanked around the corner by Gurkow as all of a sudden there is a massive explosion. That door does open, yes.
Okay. Oh no!
Goes into emptiness. No, it doesn't. So, yes, there's a massive whirring sound, and the robot detonates, and there is just a rain of pieces. For those of you who are either around a corner or behind a door, all you hear is the tinkle of tiny, tiny parts sprinkling themselves liberally about the place. And you find the whole thing is scattered around the whole floor, up the walls, in the walls, up the walls, on the ceiling, across the floor. There is a blackened smear where the robot used to be.
Oh, sorry, Commander Flesk. I wish I could have got your part. I mean, there are parts now.
Immediately scan the parts.
Yes. Start scanning the parts. Kenson.
Alright.
Kenson.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Henson pokes her head out from around a corner.
Start scanning the parts. Unless you want
Okay.
the hyperspanner. Again.
No, no, unless I'm getting the hyperspanner to hit something with.
Okay. The readings you are getting point to a great degree of sophistication, even though you've now got nothing but tiny little bits. Everything you've observed so far does point to a ridiculous amount of sophistication, and somehow the thing was able to repair itself. How it was doing that is not immediately obvious, because now you've pretty much destroyed the evidence. But the few bits that are about are sophisticated and high-tech enough that if you have time later to study them, could certainly be potentially eye-opening. Unfortunately, you come to another rather horrid realization. The tiny, tiny pieces are starting to twitch. And are rolling themselves slowly, ever so slowly, into a central point. Gathering back towards where the robot was.
Can Kinson grab a couple of pieces and just start walking away?
Sure. It's going to be actively trying to get out of your pocket, but yes. So it's going to be this annoying little thing that's moving about inside your pocket as if it's being pulled by a magnet, but yes. Grabbing a piece, probably not a bad idea.
Looking down at Tara in her EV suit, she just goes, "Well, well, this is done for." So she just takes off the EV suit.
Alrighty.
Flesh just looked on in horror.
I was going to say.
Hey, we're in a clean. This place is hot, well, except for the bits on the floor.
It was clean.
Commander, this is probably cleaner than your room.
Ooh, touche.
Is there anything from it we can determine that, figure out why it's still moving? Is it innately moving, or is it because of the receiver telling it to get back together?
Ooh, that's an interesting hypothesis. In fact, because you've come up with that, give me control and science as you use your tricorder.
Okay.
And yes, you can use your god focus. Oh, the cackle. I like that. Yeah, baby. 2 successes, yes. Okay, you're definitely getting a point of origin on a signal. It seems it's less that the bot is repairing itself. It's more like, as you theorized, there is a signal being transmitted to the parts, which is somehow telling them to get back together, and how. Where you've got an idea as to where that signal is coming from as well now. And it's a little further on. Pretty much in the direction you were going to go anyway if you were going to be following the power schematics. But definitely it's definitely a signal emerging from a location further into the station.
If we took the receiver...
This is the thing. According to Gurkhau's readings, all of the parts are receiving this transmission and are therefore being compelled to be brought back together.
Okay. No. I wasn't thinking about. I was actually thinking about taking the receiver. I don't care if it goes back together. I wanted to take a piece so we can have an accurate signal to trace.
Yep. Well, Kenson already thought of that and has put a part in her pocket, so you've got that.
Yep.
I mean, if we all carry a part, then surely just even 5 missing pieces would stop it from functioning fully, right?
Hopefully.
Right. Okay, I'm taking a part as well.
All right.
And
then.
another part for sampling.
Okie dokie.
Everyone gets a piece.
There you go. Here's a piece for you. 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 I'm going to take 3 pieces.
As you are handing out these pieces, one of them flies from your hand to join back with the others, so you have to hold them that much more tightly. It's like, whoop.
Right.
No open palms.
Right.
Nevertheless.
Everybody, go.
Follow that signal.
Alrighty. And now we go back to the planet. Where are we? The village. So, the guys down here just made an interesting little discovery with that depiction of these giant beings and an archway. As a result, was there anything you wanted to do now that you've got a little bit of interesting, pardon me, this interesting piece of info?
Do we want to ask the
Yeah.
inhabitants what it is, if they know what it is?
Yep. Alrighty. Finding someone to help is not difficult, because as I mentioned before, occasionally the mayor pops in just to pay his head around just to see whether or not you're still doing stuff. But when you come out and you stop somebody, so did you want to stop the mayor or just one of the regular citizenry?
Try the mayor first.
Okay.
Cool.
The mayor goes, "Ah, yes! Something from the lost times. Yes. That is one of the earliest depictions of the visitation after the cataclysm. We're very proud to have kept this. Very few of these depictions actually remain. This is the best representation we have of such, so yes. This depicts the gatekeepers and the gateway they issued from, I do believe." I take it you don't have one of these in your village.
No. Tell us more.
Oh, well, he puffs his chest out when he hears no. It's more like a case of, haha, we've got something you don't. Well, according to what is remembered, not long after the cataclysm, when the sun turned black and the land began to shake, we were visited by the gatekeepers, who came from a faraway place and built a new moon in the sky, and he gestures up. And of course, the moon that he's gesturing to is the artificial satellite. You can see plainly in the sky. The gatekeepers were able, by building this new moon, to stem the tides and stop the rumbles and the destruction, allowing us to live on, and they saved us. Where the gatekeepers went, no one is entirely sure, but legend states that if the Ithic people are found to have a full accounting of themselves when the gatekeepers return, they may very well take us to their palace on the moon, where we will have our eternal reward. It's a very nice story, but not many are sure they still believe in it, to be honest. But then, of course, there's this. And he points to, on the archway, there are 7 markings on the archway, where the story goes that in order to prove ourselves worthy, not only did we have to gain a full accounting and present the evidence of our prosperity to them when they do come back, we also have to solve a final riddle, and it is there on the archway. Now, no one in all their wanderings has had the time or inclination to ever find any kind of archway like this, which is why we believe that it's simply an allegorical tale to, well, help while away the nights. Nevertheless, some people have tried to solve the mystery of the markings, but so far no one has managed it. Feel free to make your own representation of this, but I must insist that the original drawing does stay here. And make sure you tell everybody where you got it from, because, well, if word gets around that it can only add to our prosperity.
Can we take a look at the depictions or the riddle?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a crude drawing, but not so crude that you can't tell all the characters and can't see enough detail that what's on there is not obvious. Is there anything specific you were looking to do?
Solve a puzzle, by the sound of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was looking
Well-
more towards the how. Was there a specific avenue of investigation you were looking to try and employ, perhaps, or what?
Let's see. What does Bonnie have?
Yep, feel free to look at folks' statistics and foci to have a good old think of what you can use.
Ensign Akos is really good at multitasking. Is he able to peruse multiple files to see if there's any hints in this stack of information?
Ooh, okay. Ensign Akos. Spend 3 momentum to gain the benefit of an additional roll benefit until the end of the current one. Is once per episode. Roll benefits, which is essentially a roll on a ship grants you some benefits. So, as an example, Chief Engineer grants you the ability to reduce the opportunity cost of an engineering team advantage. What would be good? You're looking for some kind of historical data or something that might get... So I'm thinking science. That's assisted by sensors or computers, but you do have tricorders, so that would count. Yeah, using a tricorder or the sensor device, you can ask one additional question as if you had spent momentum to obtain information. So he could, essentially, using his multitasking talent, gain the benefit of Gurkhau's Chief Science Officer role benefit. It means you're going to have to try and use tricorder or something to do a sensor scan, but yeah.
Yeah, because a gateway that can do teleportation would be something we could pick up if we can sneakily do a scan.
Yes. So in order to sneakily do a scan, I am going to ask for potentially a group, as in one lead, one assist, and any other assistants you want to add using momentum, the usual thing, of control and security to be all stealthy-like.
Oh, wait, Akos isn't too bad for that, actually.
Well, he's a security officer. I should hope he's good at security.
Yeah. Would Bonnet be any good in helping?
Who of the rest of the group has got a good security? Bonnet has got 1 security. The EMD
She's better
has
at
got
con or
1.
science.
Everyone here has got 1 security, except for the security officer, which you, again, would hope. I mean, doesn't mean that others can't help. It certainly would increase your chances of success.
Yeah, if anyone wants to help, we can just pick any random and then get Akos to lead.
So is Sot or the Councillor or the EMD assisting?
I'll give it a go, see what happens.
Cool. Just to try and see how sneaky you can be about covering the fact that you're going to be using tricorders to scan stuff.
Sure. What am I scanning? Sorry, so security.
Control and security.
Control and security.
So Sot's 1 and Akos is 2. Ooh, that's a good... Well, check Dr. Sot out. He's sneaky.
Oh, I'll roll for Akos.
It's all those nameless lies that they say that they're really helping when they're really not.
There we are. Those, that, you know, you mean the times when the doc says this isn't going to hurt a bit, or you're going to feel a sharp scratch?
It's just a little pain.
A little pain. 2 successes. Nice. Okie dokie. Cool. Okay, so using the advantage of having a group, you can huddle up and look like you're looking at something, giving somebody else the ability to use a tricorder without letting anybody see. So you're taking a scan of the picture, essentially, and trying to see if it comes up with anything. So let me think. Again, this is all going to come down to the folks who got cultural studies here to try and draw a comparison to somewhere else. So this is going to be reason and science for those with cultural studies. But Akos can assist in order to use his multitasking thing to give you the ability to ask a obtain information question if you need to.
Cool. Who's going to lead?
So whom with the cultural studies is going to lead? Well, since Sot was just being sneaky, how about we have Bonnet next? Unless, Chris, you had an idea?
No, it's fine. That works.
Alright, for this, what's the role?
Reason and science?
Damn, reason.
Oh, yeah. You have to remember this stuff, as well as scan it. Ooh, yeah, okay. Whoops-a-days.
She's not the most reasonable person.
Oh, nothing.
Alright, okay. I will let you succeed at cost, which means I get a threat back. Ba-doom. Assuming, of course, you're good with that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alright. You scan the depiction, and because it's fairly crude, the tricorder starts riffing through, screeding through all these different, historical art references, and it's a case now of sifting through these lists, and it's very much a case of no, not that one, certainly not that one. That one looks like it was drawn by a Nausicaan. No. But you do come across something that has a pictographical resemblance to the runes, I suppose you could call them, that are depicted on the on the gateway arch drawing. Using that, you can definitely get the impression that this is a set of numbers in a sequence. The sequence is 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5, 1. Seven numbers in a sequence over the archway.
Anyone remember what that was? 4, 2, 6, 2, 10,
10, 5, 1.
Quick note.
That's it.
Could it be a start date? Is it the right format?
It's if it is, then it suggests. Let me find a star date. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A current star date would be more like 6 digits long.
Far into the future.
Well, yeah. If it is a star date, then it's ahead. So how would they have a pictographical depiction of in their past referencing something in the future? Interesting. If that's even what this appears to be. Nevertheless, is there anything else you want to try and find out whilst you are here?
Does Councillor Sachs feel anything?
Ooh.
The only thing Councillor Sachs actually is picking up on is pretty much what has been stated already. These people are all very ordered, very businesslike. They all know that everything they do in the name of the community is to help the community survive, so they're all very pragmatic and ordered about it. And, they all have a very comfortable sense of accomplishment that everything they contribute contributes to the whole. The mayor, he's very much up his own butt about himself. Very much a fan of his own importance, but is no less good at being ordered and whatnot. She senses no deception from anybody, definitely doesn't get the sense that there's another mind or anything like that hovering about, so she doesn't detect anything abnormal at all.
Given we managed to have a sneaky scan of everything, and we've got this sequence from the runes, was there any hint to where this gateway was? Even alluded to a location in these records?
Well, the mayor said that there has been no one in here that has gone far enough to find such thing, and as far as you can tell, nobody ventures further than the next village over in one direction, which makes sense. There's no real method of conveyance other than essentially horse and cart around here, so folks aren't able to safely travel very far, and each settlement seems to have been positioned in such a way that it's, near resources that can be used to survive on, but also within reach of somewhere else. So, there isn't that much ground to cover. Where this arch could be is not clear. If you wanted to get a better idea, you'd probably have to go back up to the ship to do a surface scan.
Maybe we can have somebody on the ship do a surface scan and
Yeah.
let us know where it is.
Okay. The Combs crew, then, when you have a spare 5, just kind of move off and send up a communication to the Combs. They do a sensor scan of the planetoid, what's left of it, and find no evidence of any kind of similar archway, sadly. So if there was one on this planetoid, it doesn't look like there is one anymore.
Can we ask them to look at a database and see if the number sequence means anything in this sector?
All right. They will start scanning records to find that anything matching that number sequence, which may take a little time, which gives us the ability now to go back to the guys on the station. So, before I send you there, let's group them back together so I can get you in a nice little cluster to move you on to the next area. Okay. Ba-bom, ba-bom, ba-bom. So, the guys back on the artificial satellite. You followed the schematics and the power and the reading that you've been getting, and you eventually come across a room. So you came in through this door, and you enter into this room. Now it appears to be a room just like any of the others, but is big to accommodate what's going on in the middle. Now at first glance, when you come in here, you don't see an awful lot. You see a console, maybe a pair of monitoring consoles hooked up to something that looks like it's made out of some kind of stone. Another piece of equipment here appears to be some kind of maybe a regulator or some such, but as you move around to see it from the side, you realize that it is an arch. Now this isn't just any old stone arch, it's definitely been carved. It has got numerous bits of technology woven into it, and it's at this point that I am going to ask... Actually, no. Somebody here's already got a trait that gives them an advantage. Historical engineering.
Hey.
Tavish... You've seen this before. In old records and reports. An ancient technology that hasn't been seen all that much in the galaxy. But now that you see it here, there can be really no mistaking it. This looks like an Iconian archway.
Tavish just starts kind of looking at the archway just a little bit more, and then her eyes just go really wide. She goes over to the console, and she just goes, "Everybody over here now! Everybody!
Does anybody here not know what an Iconian archway is?
Trouble.
So I'm guessing everybody has seen the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine episodes that involve Iconian archways?
Yep, I've definitely seen them.
Excellent.
Not really, but it don't sound good.
Would anybody like to elaborate for Liz and anybody who's watching that doesn't know about Iconian archways, what an Iconian archway is?
They're just like super duper long distance portals.
Ah.
Go like anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah, in the galaxy.
Oh, so in other words, the Voyager could have really used this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a starship sized one. They're normally human sized, but yeah.
So yes.
They could have got the crew. They could have just, scuttled the Voyager.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also remember it from Star Trek Online.
Aha, yes, of course. There was that big story arc in Star Trek Online involving the Iconians, so yes. Now,
Yes.
the unfortunate downside is that this area appears to be largely unpowered, which now starts to make a degree of sense. This would have to be the room that the power management display that you saw. This is the room that has the capacity to have a large amount of energy channeled into it, but doesn't at the moment. There's no power to this room whatsoever, therefore the Iconian archway is inert. It's just an arch of stone now. And the monitors, they are on low power.
Commander.
Yes, we should be scanning this.
It's Iconian.
We need to scan this. It is hugely.
This is Iconian.
It's the historical and engineering significance of this is incredible. We need to capture what data we can. As
Why?
it is.
I'm sorry to hold on to that, but from the way Dave is saying this, I'm just imagining Tavish is literally bouncing on her heels while she's saying, "It's Iconian! It's Iconian!" So carry on.
Basically, yes.
Carry on, class.
All right, images. Kenson, I need scans, images. I need everything.
Alrighty.
Everybody else, I need more stuff. Is that okay with you, Commander? I'm sorry for taking your authority. I didn't mean to.
Well, you're both technically the same rank and similar positions on the ship, so...
Nope, it's fine. We need to record this, but we also need to look for the missing science and comms team.
Okie dokie. How about I keep on checking around here and doing what I need to here while you lot go off and look for this missing science.
How did I know that was coming? Alright, you guys, go on. I'll be here playing with my new toy.
Any other time, I would be fine leaving you behind, but seeing as we've encountered hostiles, hostile robots, I'd like to keep the team together until we've neutralized any threat and saved missing.
You see what I did to that robot?
With the help of all of us. We
That
have
is true.
to subdue it. It's still going to be here when we get back. But
All
get
right.
scans of what we can, and we'll move on quickly.
Alright.
Oh.
We'll come back.
We may not be here when we come back.
Well, it looks like... Well, that's a good point. I was about to say it looks like it's been here for a long time, but as I've already alluded to, there's no dust or anything. This place has been undisturbed for who knows how long, so... Nevertheless, Gurkhau's reading suggests that down this way is where the signal going to the robot was emanating from. So that way is the way that leads onwards. So as everyone starts filtering through, Tavish maybe gives a longing look backwards towards the Iconian archway. But otherwise, folks are implored to move onwards. And just as the last of you are going to go through this door, you hear the door on the opposite end open, and sure enough, the robot, albeit in a very bedraggled state with pieces of it hanging off and still parts of it sparking, it's incomplete, but it's now apparently semi-functional enough that it's wandering... It's meandering along at a pace that it's trying to make faster, but it's coughing sparks and spluttering electricity as it feebly is reaching for you with one long mechadendrite tendril. And it's still coming.
It's on its way, but I don't want it to hit the arch.
Well, it is going out of its way to go around the arch.
Okay, alright, we're good. Alright.
Run!
Come.
Run.
Lock the door.
Don't lock the door with me.
Okay, so let me grab all of you. So you go hurtling through the door. Right. So, what exactly were the ground team on the planetoid now looking to accomplish now that they've learned all of this? There's no arch that you've found on the planet. You've pretty much managed to get what their culture is about down to near minutiae. Was there anything else you wanted to do on the planetoid particularly, or have you gathered all the information you wanted?
Well, it'd be good to know what happened to cause the regression exactly. So it's when the sun went black.
Yeah, well, that's easily enough theorized, or hypothesized, I should say, insofar as, from what you were told, the sun turned black, which suggests that somehow, some way, the sun went from being a star to a black hole, which suggests, you know, it collapsed in on itself and created a singularity. But it then seems like a race appeared at this point and created the artificial satellite, which held the black hole in stasis and has allowed the people on the planet to survive what otherwise would have been a mass extinction event. But it doesn't appear that they arrived at the point where it did collapse. It looks like the planet was ripped into bits, and this is the last surviving piece from the initial formation of the black hole. So they regressed, probably because they don't have the resources anymore. So they had potentially an industrial technological society, but as soon as the black hole formed and started gobbling up all the planets in the system, their own planet was pretty much wrecked, and they've survived on the one habitable continent still left on the planet, and they just don't have the technological resources anymore. And so they've had to regress to an agrarian society.
I can't think of anything else we were trying to get from the planet's surface.
So, unless anybody else can think of something else they could get from the planet's surface, then, unless someone does come up with something, because I just heard an
No, I mean, not really.
Okay.
Uh,
I would suggest then that if that's all that they can find, then the away team on the planetoid can come back up to the combs and make their report. And if that's all, then we are going to, whilst
slowly
the
take off their prosthetics and hologram
Yes.
filter.
whilst the whilst the crew on the combs are still searching for the number sequence, or what matches it, we're going to come to the security room as the guys still on the artificial satellite are jogging briskly away from the pursuing robot as it's chugging along, coughing smoke and emitting sparks. You manage to find your way to this area. And this is definitely where the signal is emanating from. There are a pair of doors ahead of you with transparent windows that let you see inside. There definitely appear to be active consoles and whatnot inside this room. Worryingly enough, through the windows you can see niches in the far wall that house presently inert robots. One of those niches appears to be empty. And you can hear the chugging and spluttering of the security robots not far behind you. Tavish tries to just plain open the door. The door is not responding. You might need to find a way to get it open.
Alright, can I have a look around to see if there's a button or, a...
It looks like
console or anything?
there is indeed some kind of pad to allow access.
Come on, we just have to ram it with the anti-grav sled.
Yeah, but we need that for like people who are injured.
Who's injured? Get on, and then we'll ram the door.
Okay, that is not ethical. Look, I may do some crazy stuff, but come on.
We're giving them the ride of their lives.
Maybe the last one.
Tavish, see if you can use that pad to get in. We need to power down this security system.
At the very least, I will allow you to either do control or daring and engineering to see if you can hotwire this thing to open.
Oh, I got determination back, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, control and engineering.
Mm.
What am I doing here? Is it focus would be computers?
Let's go with sure.
power
Yeah. That makes. Or power systems will work as well as you're trying to essentially rewire it.
Okay.
2. Nice. You hear a click and a whir, and the thing unlocks. Just as the robot can be seen hoving into view.
Right. I need to power down these systems. I'm going to go and have a look around to see what I can find out.
Kenson
Which
and
console?
Uro are still in the corridor. The robot is hovering along and is reaching menacingly for you. Uro and Kenson close the doors behind them, and in trying to close it, they open it, open it, and close it. The robot hovers and comes up to the door. The doors don't open because you're holding them closed, and so it starts to bang on the door. Now, there are numerous consoles, controls, and data feeds going on all around you. There are even a couple of screens here and there and holographic representations that echo some of the security feeds that Gurkau saw earlier. So this definitely appears to be a security control room of some sort. But when Tavish tries to access the system, it comes up with pretty much a red window and appears to be asking for a code key clearance.
Which we won't have an idea of.
Nope.
Unless,
We talk to the Combs. Do we have comms?
well, it seems like a good time to try, eh? Because the security droid is banging on the door and he's starting to crack the window.
Flester Combs, can you read us?
There is a spurt of static. You realise you are slightly further away from the last placed comm relay, but you do have comm systems in your EV suits. You could potentially use those to boost a signal. You just need to have someone rewire the EV suit's comm system.
Hey, come here. I haven't got an EV suit on, so I need to
No, so
use somebody.
Kenson.
Come here. Flesk.
Oh
come
no.
here. Flesk, it's fine. Come here.
So Kenson and Tavish may be working together to try and boost the power of the comm system on Flesk's EV suit, as
What do you
Uro
want?
is desperately holding this door closed.
What do you want?
This is going to be daring and engineering. Definitely daring. There's no time for finesse with this.
Computers, no. Power
Right, not-
systems, no. Warp engines, no. Experimental technology.
Power systems are close enough, and maintenance from Kenson. Because you're rerouting power from a suit system to give it a boost.
Oh, Oh, I can hear someone's dog in the background.
That would be
That'll be ours.
Pixel.
My mic is muted. He's genuinely being so loud that like
Yeah.
picked him all the way upstairs on Connie's.
Fair enough. All right. So, Liz, if we could get daring and engineering from Kenson.
Alright.
2 successes so far. Not bad, not bad. You need 1 more. Are you prepared to succeed at cost?
I am. I don't know if the rest of the team are.
I would leave that up.
The non-committal answer. Nice. If you're prepared to succeed at cost, then yes, they do manage to boost the power of the system at the cost of rendering the rest of the EV suit systems inert.
Oh, I'm sorry, Flesk.
A little sad sigh from Flesk.
His favourite EV suit now just becomes a walking walkie-talkie.
Now we're twinsies.
But yes, you do manage to get a communication line to the Combs.
So, Flesk Combs, we found what appears to be an Iconian technology. We're trying to shut down power to the security system. Tavish and I are going to attempt to hack and power it down, but have the away team on the planet found any hint of what went on? Any kind of information?
Well, as it happens, you know they have.
And so with that relayed random sequence of numbers, can we try mashing it in?
Yes.
Matching the runes.
Indeed, you can find equivalent runes on a numeric, what appears to be a numerical entry pad, and therefore 42621051. The screen goes from red to green, and the robot trying to smash his way into the room, stops trying to smash his way into the room, and just seems to power down.
Phew. Can we use, now that we have access, that security system to try and identify the location of the missing personnel?
Yes, you've still got the problem of not being able to read Iconian, but now that you've got a better idea of what kind of thing you're looking at, you do find, especially because Kenson's over there, you do find in the memory cores of the security robots and the security system itself, it managed to identify a number of what you would imagine from the system's point of view as intruders. Intruders who were all neutralized and then had their signals copied. It seems the security system had identified the science teams as intruders, naturally, and then deployed a security robot to deal with them, and it dealt with them as only security droids do, lethally. But then used its ability to create a hologrammatic field around itself to pretend to be a deceased member of the security team to then lure others to their doom. So quite a sinister little security system if you think about it. Yes. There was a thought
Yeah,
forming.
Yeah, what's Liz planning?
I really wish Bonnie was on here because she would take as much information as possible and start upgrading the comb security system with this for enemies.
Okay, there may be questions, and by maybe I mean there will be questions as to the efficacy of such a system.
The failsafe, last-ditch effort.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we have a comlink with the combs now.
You do, yes.
Whilst none of us are Iconian historical experts, we should be able to try and access some amount of information.
Yes, that's what I was going to do, but then I realized when we saw the arch, but then I realized we couldn't get in. I didn't know if we could get into the combs or not.
Mm.
So let's see if we can start
Yeah.
translating bits of it, so we can at least use this interface. Because Flesk definitely wants to take a fully working droid back with him. If he
Oh,
knows
yeah.
it's in there.
But the sad part is, none of the people that have cultural studies are on this mission.
Mm.
Can the combs send data through the comlink?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Tavish is going to go to Flesk. Is going to hook up
To his EVA suit.
hook up herself to his EVA suit,
Ooh.
and ask Flesk to ask the combs to send all data pertaining to the Iconians, and upload it to her and Nilo through the comms and through the EVA suit.
Okay. Now, sadly, it appears that you have stumbled across now the only record that Starfleet and the Federation's ever come across of working Iconian tech with actual evidence of their written works, of their written language. So you are now currently in possession of more information than the Federation has ever had in regards to the Iconians. So most of it is all hearsay and historical record. So it doesn't take long for you to download all the information available about the Iconians, because there's not actually all that much. Whether or not any of that helps you here is yet to be determined. I mean, this system, from everybody having their respective looks at how the system works, seems to be specific to the security system. Indeed, there's a hologrammatic schematic, a wirework rendering of the satellite in the central display. But you are now very close, it seems, to the one part of the satellite that is still very much drawing a large amount of power, and that would be the emitter array.
And other than powering these robots, are we aware what that emitter's doing?
Can I make a sorry?
Yeah, go on.
Mark, just you and Mark has just like, is the power array emitting the power to keep that basically the bubble around the black hole which is outside?
That's exactly where I was thinking.
Yeah.
You don't know, but it's a darn good guess. There's certainly got enough power coming out of it, or going into it, to suggest it could very well be.
So, is the power going into... Alright, can Tavish check this? Is the power going from... Is it power going from the space station to the shield to go around the black hole? Or is... basically, is the power from... whatever power you can get from a black hole, is that being... brought in by the shield and directed into the station?
You don't know. The best way to find that out
Have a play.
would be to go to the emitter array.
Okie
Flesk is going to instruct Tavish to try and take as much recording of this language that we can see and how it works.
Okay.
And Flesk would like to try and investigate without interacting, just trace what he can see from this map of power presented before him to see what he can learn from what's being presented.
Okay. Now, bearing in mind you are... Sorry, Dave, hold on to that. Don't forget it, whatever you're going to say. But I will just say, in regards to that question, this is definitely a security outpost, and has only got systems specific to the dealing of the security systems of the satellite. In regards to anything else, it doesn't appear to have any readouts or any form of accessing that data, so you'll have to find another room or another area specific to what you want to find out in order to get that data. Dave?
I was just going to say, can I start going through all the consoles and basically getting Nihil to just have a look at all the characters, everything we can get.
Snapshot of the language. Yep, cool.
Yeah. As much as possible.
Yep, no problem. No problem at all. So again, all the display screens, even though you can't read them, they suggest that they are all displaying information specific to security. That's all this room is concerned with, so.
Okay.
Let's, now that we've neutralized, well, not neutralized, disabled the threat, let's try and make our way to the emitter.
Alrighty. Well, it doesn't take you long, but following the readings from the tricorders are picking up the power and using the schematics that you've seen thus far, doesn't take you long before you come across a room. And you already know it's the emitter array by the time you enter from the way that the hairs on the hairs on the outside of your skin, as opposed to the inside of your skin, Matt? Okay. The hairs on your skin stand up from the sheer amount of ionization, static in the air.
Is this going to affect me with the fact I haven't got an EV suit on anymore?
Well, that's kind of my point. Tavish feels it more than most because she's bare to the air almost, if you will, because she hasn't got a protective layer on. So as soon as you step into this room, it's like all your hairs stand up from the sheer amount of static. So you can see what you can see, and it's again this it looks like there's almost a silo, a drop into an unending pit that just goes down and down and down, and emitting out the middle of this thing. Yes, quite. Those of you with hair will have it standing up. And out of the middle of this long pit is this massive, what do you call it, column with emitter shields that are just there to accept energy or redirect energy. It's not entirely clear. They seem to be receiving direct voltage of energy from various bits of apparatus around the place, but this emitter array goes up further than the ceiling of this room suggests. So you are essentially in what you believe to be the main control room of this emitter array, whereas the emitter dish itself, or whatever it has of projecting itself into space, is more than likely on the surface. So you are now directly underneath the main emitter array, and there are indeed consoles in front of you. The consoles suggest they're here to help maintain and regulate the power output of the emitters, but here you can now start to study if you wish. I say if. Yes, knowing full well you're gonna.
Can we do... yeah, I want to record all the data we scan as well.
Righty-ho, righty-ho.
I'd like to say thank you very much, Matt, for giving me my next science project.
Wait, so after you're done with the displacement-activated Spore Hub drive, and then what was the other one after that? The impenetrable firewall for the ship's computer system.
Yes.
You now want to be working on an Iconian arch.
No. It will probably be to do with decrypting the language. Actually.
Oh, a long-term. Well, you know, have to stick that in your pastimes now. Iconian history.
I would say, yeah, translating Iconian. That'd be a big first.
That will probably take decades. But yeah, go on, Liz.
You could always have Liz could always, or Bonnet could always do that. Cultural studies.
Yeah.
Not to mention,
that was-
if you... sorry to interrupt you there, Dave, but there's also a former first officer that had linguistics.
Yeah. That's my whole thing. It's like I could get the whole crew in on it. A science project I could get the whole crew doing.
We
Bonnie's
can.
on a project at the moment,
Yeah.
so it could be
Yep.
hers, translating Iconian.
Right then. Let's have folks give us a reason and science. Good old look at this. And if it's not science, then you can use reason and engineering. And I will happily forego the usual momentum cost to let you all get involved in this. Even Nursura.
And I will-
Who's having the 2 dice then, and who's having?
I've got a 10 in reason
I'll-
and 5 in engineering, but a focus in power systems or
Yeah.
or metalry.
I'm exactly the same as you.
So,
Uh,
let's
A
go
star cross just waiting to be used.
Was that Liz?
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Okay, there goes
Gurkau.
Kenson. Right here.
What's Gurkau's in science and reason?
Connie?
9 and 5.
9 and 5.
But I can double the focus range. Which
Same
is
here.
Exactly what I'm going to do. Oh, okay.
I can do everything you can do.
Everything you can do, I can do better. Anything you can do. Oh, there we go. Nursuro adds some science to the mix. Nicely done.
I'll do the 1.
Or we can take a momentum and you can do 2.
Ooh.
Well, seeing as we're doing this without a cost, I'm not
Oh,
going to
yeah.
take a momentum and roll 2. So
Oh,
I'll just run around with my focus in power systems.
Okay.
Right, I've spent a star cross. I hope I roll well now.
Oh,
Oof. Oof. Oof.
Ooh.
Okay. But there's still... Gurkau has yet to roll. Show these idiots how science is really done.
with your god focus.
Okay. So we got 1, we got 2, we got 3. So the engineers... Well... Except for Flesk. Are a bit like, what the hell is this? Not all of this makes sense, but the others all put their science hats on, and yeah. It's one of those chicken and the egg type situations. This entire station seems to be drawing power from the black hole, and the emitter array definitely appears to be creating the electromagnetic shield that surrounds the black hole, containing it, therefore creating a loop, this magnificently powered, perpetually powered station, which can draw immense amounts of energy out of this moment, essentially frozen in time, almost. This black hole emitting all this power and energy and never using it up. So the Iconians have created their own limitless power loop, which in and of itself is extraordinarily impressive. But it's what you find in addition to that that starts to turn this from a, oh wow, this is amazing, to, oh wow, this is concerning. Because within the emitter array's systems, you also find evidence of neutrino emitters, suggesting that the emitter is also potentially capable of opening wormholes. Now, the fact that the relativistic jet of the singularity is still able to penetrate the electromagnetic shield starts to suggest something rather sinister. Because if they've built in a system whereby the axis the tilt axis of the black hole is possible to manipulate, then that can potentially mean that if this station can create a wormhole that opens in this system and exits in another system, you postulate that it's possible that this system has been configured in such a way that the relativistic jet could be altered to spew its radioactive particles through that wormhole. And that means this could be a potentially very deadly weapon. With this knowledge, what would you like to do? Now, you've still got the problem that the axis is still being tilted, and therefore the relativistic jet is going to, within the next hour or two, is going to wash over the planetoid.
Well, we need to stop that, don't we?
Yes, yes, yes. So someone's going to have to do their best to do a difficulty 3 control and science and/or control and engineering to try and stop that thing from happening.
Less.
I was going to say, where there's a will, there's a way. I don't mind using determination on this.
Alright, well then you'll be leading it, and I'll assist with my usual.
I've got a Legion of Honor.
Good, good. Just in case.
In case. And parent figure if we pull one more person in.
Hold on.
We've got a full momentum pull, so if you want to pull somebody else in, or somebody's else in, that's all good.
Alright. Have I got any... Can I use any focus in this?
I mean, sure.
Experimental technology? Because I don't know how this works.
Yeah, quite. Now,
Okay.
power systems, pulling power away from whatever system is being used to actively change the orientation of the axis, could work, I suppose.
There's a lot of things that can happen, a lot of probability that he's calculating.
Yes, there's that.
I'm going to use the Starcross then.
Flask, this seems like it's almost like deflector field technology is being used to hold the bubble together and therefore create the axis of emission.
Awesome. I can roll 1 dice, or I can steal a momentum on top of the momentum spend for Gurkha. Then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, that can work. But instead of me taking extra dice, actually, if you're using a... No, we're not using Starcross. Ignore me.
Okay.
So Gurkha's going to join in. That's 1 momentum spend.
Yep.
And we've got room for 1 more.
Can
So-
I take an extra dice?
Go for it. I'll ping that off as well.
Okay. There we are. That's our maximum of 5. 1 to 3,
So
4, 5.
Don't worry about the first 1,
Worry about the next ones.
2... Yeah, so the first complication I can get with being a maintenance specialist. I can negate it, and then in addition to that... Oh no, it overlaps, it's the first. Only ever the
Yep.
first, so either or, never mind. So
That's okay. Plenty of Legion of Honors.
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, I've only got 1, so...
I've
Let's-
got 2 left, I think. So.
I've
Okay.
got 2 left as well.
But it's the number of successes we're after, which is 3.
And we've got 2, 3, 4 dice, 5 dice being rolled. Let's roll.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. That's 1.
That's 1.
If you're using Starcross, then remember to check the box that says dedicated focus.
Ooh.
Whoa! Yep, Gurkha wins again.
Okay, I don't use... Do I tick focus as well?
You tick focus and dedicated focus, yes please.
So I'm ticking all the boxes.
Ticking all of the boxes. But only
Plus-
rolling 1 dice. Oh no, you're rolling 2
No.
because you bought an extra.
Yeah. Power roll.
Complication range is 1 still.
Still, yep. No difference there.
Here we go.
Hey. bada boom, bada bing. All right.
My God.
My God, we're all gods now. No, that is great. That was 8 successes in total. My wordy words. Okay, yes, you definitely find the axis tilt controls and suspend them. You have, through your interaction with the various systems, and especially figuring this one out, managed to gain a lot of knowledge as to how this Iconian system, at the very least, is working. And with that many successes, you can probably lock the axis tilt so that it can't be accidentally tripped again. Which I will leave to you to decide whether or not you want to do that. But you have definitely stopped the you've definitely stopped the axis tilt that threatens the planetoid, so those folks can continue on as they were. But that's that. That's the immediate peril to the life in the system done, and that's also the nature of this station, pretty much decided. So, yes.
Using the value where there's will, there's way.
Mm-hmm.
What should I put? Shutting down
Iconian emitter array.
I don't know when I'm ever...
Well, you never know. You may in the future come across another piece of ancient alien technology, and you remember back to when ancient alien technology was threatening life on a planet, and it makes you act in a certain way. You never know. When am I ever going to use this? You give me too little credit. All right.
I don't know if I spelled Arconium right.
It doesn't matter. As long as you can read it and you can reference back to this episode again later on, then, yeah. Aliens. So, now that you have stopped the immediate peril to the planetoid, you have shut down the security system that was putting the science team and yourselves in jeopardy, you are free now to proceed back to the ship, or do whatever else you want to do. So, what is it that the away team now is set to do?
Take a sample of the robot, and
I was under the impression one of them was going to be physically hauled out of its niche and taken back to the ship.
Yes, that was the plan.
Oh,
Yep.
take a sample of another one.
So, take a whole and complete one, and then
Yes.
take bits from another one. Not you.
Well, we've got lots of bits in our pocket, haven't we?
You still have bits in your pockets, yes. Which is something that could be taken entirely out of context if someone else was listening into this. But, yes. Yes?
I've just seen that I've done this something twice, by the way.
Go on.
You know how you know how we've got the logs?
Yes.
You know how I made a bomb out of a phaser by breaking a robot?
Yes.
I've also made a bomb out of a phaser, which may or may not killed the captain when we were trying to get out of.
Huh. Yeah. Making a bomb out of. Was that necessarily a value of yours causing you to behave in a certain way that stemmed from... Now, I would have thought, in that regard... See, this is me being a bit finicky about that, because the result of that bomb going off was what collapsed the... what do we call it? The mycelial construct, so that it could go back into its home dimension. And that particular event caused you to lose your captain, which, if I remember you telling me, Tavish was extremely distraught about. So
That was Search for Sobek episode.
Yes, and that, as a result, brought about our Search for Sobek episode. So, in a way, making a bomb to destroy a bot is different from making a bomb to create a means of escape. And I would have thought that it would have made Tavish think twice about it rather than eagerly try and do it.
Yeah, I didn't
she would have
notice.
had guilt.
Yeah, I didn't notice, or I would have been very much, okay, I don't know if I really want to make a bomb. We know
Yeah.
what happened last time.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing, so we'll
Yeah.
just have to go with this was more a spur of the moment thing to get away from a threat, which you could still argue was the previous one as well. But okay, because we didn't go into a major panic over it, we'll just put that to one side. But that is the kind of thing I'm talking about when I say reference another episode. If the events of a previous episode, your character felt that their values made them react to a certain situation in a certain fashion, and whatever learning experience they took from that makes them act in a similar way using that same value again. That's the callback I'm looking for. That's whatever experience you had before is now impacting your response now, and if it happens in a way that references a previous episode, then that's the big one. That's a full character arc. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Is that clear in any way?
Yes.
Okay. Groovy.
Yeah, I've put more information down.
So, wheeling out those bots as you do, you've now taken active samples, and we are going back to the combs. So let's get back to the bridge. So, bridge. Here we are. Excuse me. Ooh, a tissue. So, with all of the away teams back, you now have the full and complete picture of what happened to the science team, and you have, well, an Iconian satellite that has now been identified. So, no small amount of work done there. But as you are all getting back to, well, not exactly normalcy, because you've got a lot of logs to do, you've got a lot of examinations to do, you've got these bits of new interesting tech that you can have a look at. All of this wonderful stuff. And as you are rounding up your logs, what it is you're going to report, and all that jazz, and the captain gets the full briefing on what's been going on, you do get a visit from Dr. Talan, who is the leader of the scientific expedition on is leader of the science outpost, pardon me, not expedition. Leader of the science outpost on the outside of the artificial satellite. So Dr. Talan comes in and says, well, congratulations to you, Combs. You have exceeded expectations. Not only managing to uncover what happened to my 6, albeit eventually 8, missing science team members, but also identifying this as Iconian in design. I must say, very good work done. I am, however, here to deliver some orders. Since it has been made evident that this is an Iconian structure, under orders that I have been given, you are instructed now to share knowledge of this artificial satellite with anybody outside of Starfleet without level 3 security clearance. We cannot risk information about this Iconian technology getting out, especially since we are still in active confrontation with the Klingons. Besides which, this Iconian satellite could make a very interesting weapon system against the Klingons. So it would be best if they did not learn that we had it.
Understood. And never mind using it as a weapon. If they find out it's here, it may become a target. And the non-warp species on the planetoid nearby would be vulnerable.
Indeed, I am glad to see that you see the logic in this. Your personal and crew-related and your personal and professional. Hang on, I can't even get this out of my mouth. Let me try this again. All logs, personal or otherwise, will have to be code-locked, and all discussion of what you have encountered here will be made illegal unless you are given strict orders with security clearance above level 3. Thank you very much for your service, Combs.
Does that mean everyone interacting on the satellite are now security level 3 at least?
That is for Starfleet intelligence to decide, Lieutenant Commander.
Just
I have no doubt my report to them will be very enlightening as to the possibilities, especially to the longevity of the current war with the Klingons. Live long and prosper. And she leaves the bridge. And with that, Captain Sobek just gives these... he doesn't... What's the terminology I'm looking for? If he was able to give a huh kind of sound, but Vulcans don't do that, so he utters a different kind of noise that those who have known Sobek long enough to be the Vulcan equivalent of huh, a small grunt of dissatisfaction. Is anybody else here somewhat concerned that it appears that the people who gave us the marching orders to assist Dr. Talan's science outpost may very well have been Starfleet intelligence? Given
Yes,
what we know...
so.
It is suspicious.
Nevertheless, we have been given our orders. Let us hope, at least, that it takes them a long, long while to discern how to use this satellite in a way that could be construed as a weapon. And so, is there anything anybody would like to add to that?
Reluctantly, Tavish will send all the data and stuff. But she is going to make a copy.
I was going to say, copies of the data sent.
Copy it and keep it hidden away in Nihil's brain.
Interesting. Okay. Anybody else? I mean, you've taken active samples of a robot. That's a good point. Starfleet intelligence will come knocking for any active samples that anyone took from the Iconian satellite. Since they can't be allowed to get into Klingon hands, they'll cite Federation security and therefore ask anyone who has taken any equipment, Iconian equipment from the satellite, and hand it over. So now my question to you becomes, are you going to hand over those security droids and the samples you took?
Well, unless we want to get reprimands, I'm going to hand over any samples I got. At the moment, I just don't want to fight with Starfleet intelligence.
You were in the naughty step once. You went to the sin bin. You don't want to go back. Gotcha.
No, I do. Just not yet.
Okay, fine. What about Gurko? Is Gurko handing over all her bits? I will point out a certain value.
I'm gonna keep them. I mean, what samples are they talking about? We've already handed over everything.
Wink, wink,
Wink.
nudge, nudge. I gotcha.
Yeah.
What about Bonnet?
Nope.
As in not
No
handing it
samples.
over? No samples?
There's no samples. What are you talking about?
Right. Interesting.
Tavish gave it all over, you know?
Yeah. And if Tavish gave it all back, then it has to all be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of all-
only the engineers took samples.
And Tavish has been in trouble before, so if she gave all the bits back, then that means nobody else could possibly have taken any.
Hold on,
gotcha.
why am I the scapegoat here?
I believe it's called the consequences of previous actions.
You're not the scapegoat. You're the
Exemplar.
yeah. You are. Hey,
I'm
the
the
one
patsy.
that. Yes, the
I'm
one that
Mark.
has gotten in trouble with Starfleet intelligence. It's known to be pissy with the Starfleet intelligence.
So if she's handed over all the stuff she had, then it means there can't possibly be anybody hiding.
I'm
any
gonna do
extra
a
stuff.
I'm gonna do a proper presentation as well.
This is Exhibit A. A bolt taken from. What's with the voice, Matt?
There's a 5-hour presentation about where they came from. what
This
we
is
think
a
it
wire
is.
clipping that I took from the floor after blowing up the bot. This is a scraping of soot that I took from the said blown up bot, etc. I see.
Hey.
Bore them with the details.
Hey, I'm going by their orders. I'm just doing a presentation.
A full and thorough debriefing. Gotcha. Nice.
Yes, yes. With things they really don't need to know about. Well,
So give them too much information, and hopefully they'll ignore the
Also,
minutiae.
also explain it to them like I'm trying to explain it to a 7-year-old.
Interesting. So, can you spell? Can you spell hyperconductive, kids? Let's go through the letters individual, shall we?
Actually, probably this is probably not a good idea. No, not explain like that. Yeah,
That was me taking the mic, but yeah, okay.
Now, because Tavish did make copies, Bonnet is going to use said copies to try to determine how to decipher the language.
She will not put it on the computer system.
So you will have
Not,
to.
not at the moment.
Yeah.
Not with Starfleet intelligence knows exactly how Tavish feels about them, so they will be expecting. I feel like they'd be expecting her to do at least something, so they'll be monitoring her, so she'll not want to.
Would you be willing to give Bonnet access to the original so she can make a copy herself?
I mean, that's not to say that you can't maybe draw what you saw, so that
Yeah,
hand them over to Bonnet.
yeah. I'll probably because I could just get Nalil to use my arm and draw the.
Which doesn't sound weird at all.
Nalil, just take over my body for a little bit while you dry these out. Don't go too fast. Last time I had an arm ache for a week.
The mind boggles. Okay. Anything else anybody else wants to add?
No one's questioned Flesh just going into his into his chamber. Cool.
Okay.
Ignore this droid I've been working on for some time.
Can I also ask the away team, which went down to? This will probably. I'll probably because I'm doing something with Bonnet. This will probably be Dr. Stott. See if I can ask for the data and their stuff as well.
All of
And
their
see if
findings from the planet. Okay.
From the planet. So we have a record. So I have a record of it inside of Nilo.
Okay.
So because all of this is included for a guess, including what is a primitive life, is going to be under security level. Was it 3?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I can ask Dr. Sott if I can do that, would he be willing to?
Yeah, crack on.
Awesome. I will take a copy of all the observations and everything then into Nilo.
Righty-ho. Righty-ho. Okay. Well then, in that case, that brings this episode to a close. So the Combs crew successfully solved the issue of what happened to the science outpost's first and second expedition. They learned a little bit about a culture on a planetoid, and they found out that the satellite was potentially built by the Iconians. To what end? Well, and what are Starfleet intelligence going to do with it, now that they know what it can do? We can only wait and see. But for the meantime, that concludes this episode, so this is where we will bring things to a close. As a result, to my players, thank you very much, as per usual, for making this so fun.
Thank you for running. It's always fun.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah, so, thank you to those who did tune in. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, come back in 2 weeks' time when we do the next episode, assuming, of course, everybody is available. Now, in 2 weeks' time, that's going to bring us to the 16th of February. Everybody good for that?
No.
No?
16th, we're away, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't do Valentine's weekend.
Oh, I see. So, would you... Because having a... Shall we then postpone it for till the 23rd? Because rather than do an episode next week, then have a miss, and then do another episode the week after. Just have a big old block, and then we can just do the same thing we usually do, which is go a week in a week. That doesn't make any sense, Matt, what you just said.
No, I'm fine to wait until the 23rd if it comes to it.
Everybody else good with that?
Yep.
I missed that, sorry.
So we're looking to postpone this until the 23rd, since everyone's away on the 16th.
That can work.
So Sunday the 9th and Sunday the 16th we will not be broadcasting. We'll be back on the 23rd. Okay. Just make a note of that. In that case, thank you very much, my dudes and dudettes, and all points in between. For those of you who found this on YouTube, if you liked it and consider giving us a like, that will at least help not only us, but everybody else who is subject to the whims of the algorithm. And in the meantime, we ask you to do like the Vulcans do. Live long and prosper. Maybe not hand over Iconian super weapons to Starfleet intelligence until you know exactly what they're going to do with it. But do engage in infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and we will see you in about 3 weeks' time when we continue the adventures of the USS Combs. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, treat each other with respect, because this world is a crazy, crazy place right now, and we will see when we see you next. Hailing frequencies are now closed.